So everybody on this call has followed a two-step process in looking for employment. In this class, the structure is set up to go through a five-step process. This five-step process is called the roadmap, and it starts with step 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 covered in 6 sessions. Session 1, or step 1, is called Ignite Your Inner Fire. You're all going through that session right now. Now, what is Ignite Your Inner Fire? Well, to really just summarize it into one word, it's motivation. Motivation is the driving force. It is the fuel that moves you forward past challenges, if you look at challenges as obstacles, that gets you to your goal. Now, what is our goal? Our goal is to become the sought after, to find employment and then become the sought after. Now, along the way, there are going to be obstacles, and motivation is what pushes you past those obstacles. Now, I want you to imagine if there was a Lamborghini outside of your house right now, a brand new Lamborghini, and I gave you the keys and I said, you can drive this Lamborghini for the week. And you took the keys and you were excited, you got into the Lamborghini, you turned the ignition and nothing happens. You look at the fuel gauge and you notice there's no fuel. With over 600 horsepower under its hood, but without fuel, where is it going to go? Now, some of you are just like that Lamborghini. You have massive potential, over 600 horsepower under your hood, but without fuel, it'll be difficult to press forward. Now, you may say, well, I've always been motivated. I don't really need to go through this portion of the training. I've always been motivated. The problem with motivation and being unemployed is that unemployment eventually, the nature of being unemployed eventually gets to everyone. You know, you go through challenges that the average person is not accustomed to going through when they are employed. For instance, you send 100 resumes out knowing you are the best fit for the job, and none of those employers you send resumes to respond back. That will get to a person's psyche. You go to an interview, you know you're the best fit for the job, you're excited that they scheduled the interview, you complete the first interview, they invite you back to the second, third, fourth, and fifth interview with the CEO, and the CEO says they really like you. In fact, he thinks they're going to hire you. You leave his office happy, thinking you got the job. A week later, you get a letter of rejection. That can impact anyone's psyche, and eventually it can diminish one's motivation. So in session 1, we want to make sure that seed that exists within you right now that gives you that unlimited motivation, where you don't have to think about being motivated. You're motivated just because you exist, just because you woke up in the morning. You have this energy, this drive, this enthusiasm that resonates from within, to be ignited. And that's step number 1, because it's necessary to everything else we do. It's necessary to have that seed ignited to complete step 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then implement our plan. Step number 2 is identify your career path. What you'll arrive at when we complete this step is a level of clarity that perhaps you've never experienced before. Most people that go through step 2, a week after completing the exercises relating to step 2, they become more motivated than they've ever been about pursuing employment, because they get a sense of direction, they identify other paths they hadn't thought about, and it's reinvigorating to know exactly what you want to pursue. And then when you see the amount of jobs that exist for that position, knowing that those employers are within your reach, it's very exciting to go through that exercise. So even if you think you know what your path is, when you go through this exercise, you realize that everything you've done has led you to where you are today, has helped you develop lots of other skills that you may have not discovered you have. And we match those skills with jobs that exist in your market. This gives you a sense of direction. Actually, part of motivation or being motivated comes from having a sense of direction. See, if you knew there are hundreds of jobs with employers that want to speak to you, and you send your resume to those employers, and they started calling you, that creates motivation, right? So, but first we have to identify, what are those employers? Where are they? How many of them are they? How many job seekers are competing for those positions, right? We don't want to touch our resume until we know which direction we're going to guide our resume towards. So that's step number 2, highly important. Number 3 is prepare for the phone interview. Now, the phone interview is something that didn't exist 10 or 15 years ago when you applied for a job, but it exists today as a pre-screening tool. Employers receive so many resumes, they can't possibly interview everyone, so what they do is they have a screening process that they go through to screen out resumes, and then when they're left with a number of resumes, let's say out of 5,000 resumes, when they're left with, let's say, 100, they still can't interview all 100, so they conduct phone interviews on maybe 25 of them. The phone interview is sometimes very dry, very robotic. There's a list of questions that they're asking in an effort to screen those who don't qualify out, and it's a skill to handle the phone interview. Our point from conducting the phone interview is to show the employer, I am the most qualified for this job, and you want to at least meet with me. The goal is to schedule an interview, and there's a degree of skill that goes into how to do that. Some people just wing it when the call comes in. Sometimes I've seen people, they're running to catch the bus, the phone rings, they pick it up, it's the employer, and while they're running, they're trying to talk to the employer. You know, there's a system that you follow, a process, very structured one, in the way you answer the call. It's important where you are when you answer the call, how you answer the questions that you're asked, and ultimately how it is that you lead that phone conversation to an appointment. Number 4 is build your resume. Session 3 and 4 are both focused on the resume. So session 3 and 4, session 3 would prepare you for building your resume. Session 4, we construct it together. And everything you hear about how to construct a resume is different than what you're accustomed to. For instance, how many of you have heard that when you construct your resume, it should only be 1 or 2 pages? How many of you have heard that? That your resume should be just 1 or 2 pages. Today, employers use what's called a talent management software. And when the resumes come in, they scan the content of the resume to see if the content is relevant to the requirements that they've posted for that particular job. So if there is no relevancy, you get scanned out. If there is relevancy, you get scanned in. The talent management software does not count pages. It reads content. So today, no longer does it matter how many pages your resume. What matters is how relevant the content is on your resume. So if you're following that idea of keeping your resume down to 1 or 2 pages, you're following a traditional method employers don't look for anymore. How many of you have heard your resume should have an objective on it? Somewhere in the resume, you should state your objective. Companies no longer care about your objective. The market has changed in that they care about theirs. You see, an employer looks at your content first to identify relevancy, then second, they read your resume once they identify relevancy to see if your work experience shows the kind of success that that job requires to be meaningful in that position so that they can achieve their objective. So they look at your skills to see how those skills translate to activities that could then translate into success for them so that they can achieve their objective. So we format the resume in a way that employers follow a resume today. So those were just 2 examples. There's lots of other ones, right? We'll discuss all of them in session 3 and 4, and we watch for these things that don't help us, that are holding us back, to ensure we're not sending out a resume that's preventing us from getting the call back. Right? So employers who are looking to fill a particular position, when they see your resume, the information on it should be so clear, so concise, that not only the scanners that scan the content, but also the human being, the hiring manager that looks at it, they both identify you as a match. So that's session 3 and 4. Session 5, we manage the apply and the interview. So we apply not so much online anymore, right? 20% of your time, 20% of your time should be applying for jobs online, but 80% of your time should be applying through your network. Now we're going to learn how to build a network, and then we're going to apply through the network. We're going to learn where to send a resume, how to send it, and then what to do at the interview. All of that occurs at step 5. And then week 6 is to wrap everything up, close out the session groups at that point. All right, so these are the 5-step process. So ignite your inner fire, identify your career path, prepare for the phone interview, and then build your resume, and then manage the apply and the interview. Imagine if it was possible to rank your degree of motivation. 0 was when you're least motivated, and 20 is when you are most. Now further imagine that every day you woke up, you felt at 20. You went to sleep feeling at 20 and woke up the next day feeling at 20. You were motivated, excited, happy, exhilarated. How would that change your results? So some of you typed in, it would improve the quality of my life. Anne writes, it would be great. Ronald writes, walking on air. Jane writes, I could reach my full potential. Very good, you're all correct. Now, what gets that motivation today for the average person to be at 20? Think about that. What gets the motivation to a 20, and what gets it to a 0? What gets it, what moves that gauge on the screen is exterior circumstances. Something happens to us and the gauge goes to a 20, and something happens to us and the gauge comes down to a 0. Think about this for a moment. Imagine if you walked out your door right now and somebody approached you and he said, yeah, my name is John, I'm with Procter & Gamble, and we've looked at your resume for the past 6 months. We thought we'd come to your house and offer you a job. The job pays $260,000 a year, full benefits, car allowance, and you would be working at a personal office 2 days a week. The rest would be from home, and this would be a 10-year contract. I'm sorry, the pay is not that great initially, but we're going to get you to $500,000 a year within a couple of years. Would you consider this position? And John asks you, he's the guy from Procter & Gamble, and you say, I'm not sure if this is, let me check into it. So you check into it and you find out that this actually exists. Procter & Gamble has been after you without you knowing for 6 months. This is how they hire people, and now they've offered you a job. When you find out this is real, how do you feel? Tell me, if this was actually happening to you today, how would you feel? Yeah, very good. So all of the things you're typing, fantastic, ecstatic, great, blown away, relieved, excellent. Those we call the state of achievement. Okay, that's a term we've made up to refer to that feeling, to that emotion that contains motivation. So you are at a 20. Now something bad happens to you the same day, and you may go down to a 0. So what controls the gauge? What takes the gauge from 20 to a 0 and back to a 20 again? Some exterior circumstance, right? Now, what if, imagine if it was possible for this gauge to break, and regardless of what happened to you on the outside, the gauge locked at 20. Imagine that for a moment. It didn't matter if you got Procter & Gamble offering you a job or something bad happening. It didn't matter. The gauge stuck at 20. If you activate 3 ingredients that exists within you right now, you will break that gauge at 20. You will wake up motivated and go to sleep motivated, feeling the same way. So that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about how to activate 3 traits that will generate unlimited motivation. It will break that gauge at 20. Now, we all possess these 3 ingredients, and when activated, success is inevitable. It's inevitable because you'll have so much motivation, energy, drive, enthusiasm that your pursuit will eventually lead you to your goals. Now, what we're going to talk about is our findings by a pioneer in the field of self-improvement, Dr. Maxwell Maltz. He wrote a book called Psycho-Cybernetics. Anyone in the field of self-improvement of any significance, like Tony Robbins, Tom Hopkins, Zig Ziglar, they all talk about Dr. Maltz as someone who changed their lives. I can tell you from personal experience, his book, Psycho-Cybernetics, is the most powerful book I have ever read. And I've read a lot of books over the course of my career, but this is the most powerful. And I remember about 20 years ago, I had a knee surgery, and I tore my ACL. I was laying in bed, and a friend of mine gave me this book as a gift. Because of the name, I didn't read it. I thought it's like a technical book or something. I put it on the shelf. A few days later, I thought I wasn't doing anything. I thought, let me just open it up, see what it's about. And I read the whole book in one day. I couldn't put it down when I started reading it. So what Dr. Maltz found is that we as humans are goal-seeking creatures. He wrote, science has provided us with convincing proof that the human mind, muscular system, and nervous system form a highly complex goal-seeking mechanism. Now, all creatures on this planet have this mechanism to help them achieve their goals. We are not the only creatures that have it. For instance, in order for a bird to succeed, it knows exactly when cold weather is imminent, knows the exact location of a warm climate, and it can travel this distance, although it may be thousands of miles apart, sometimes over open seas. A bird doesn't need to take lessons in navigation, doesn't need to watch TV for the latest weather reports. It is instinctively programmed. Now, we differ from other creatures and animals in that our goals do not come to us through instinct. We get to choose them. And because of that choice, we have a goal-seeking mechanism that is far more complex than that of other creatures. And it uses this adjustive mechanism to achieve its goals. Now think about someone who's playing baseball. When the fly ball takes off, this baseball player, interested in catching the ball, will go after this ball. In his pursuit, or in her pursuit, this person, this baseball player, has to take many calculations, many adjustments along the way to catch that ball. He or she has to take into account the speed of the ball, its direction, its rate of decrease in velocity. And then when he takes off, he has to consider his direction, his speed, and constantly make those adjustments so that he can be at that exact place where the ball is going to be to catch it successfully. Now, a baseball player doesn't need to have a notepad and a pen to make these calculations. Do you see that? These calculations are automatic. And your system, your brain, nervous system, muscular system work together to make these adjustments. Now, here's the key point I want you to pay very close attention to. A baseball player learns to catch the fly ball not the first time, not the second time, but over the course of a repeated process. The baseball player has to repeat this process over and over and over again until the adjustive mechanism can become programmed in how to successfully catch the ball. Now, we're all different from each other, but we all have this success mechanism. We're all different in that it may take James or Alfred 20 times to achieve mastery of catching the ball, and it may take me 120 times. The one thing I cannot do as a baseball player is question why it took Alfred and James 20 and it took me 120. You see, if I compare myself to them, because we're all different, right? If I compare myself to them and think, because they did it in 20, I therefore should too, and if I don't, I'm less capable, I may stop short of success. I may not repeat the process as many times as my system needs to achieve mastery, right? So catching the ball requires repetition, and in order for me to be successful, I gotta repeat it as many times as it takes for me. People who are committed to success repeat the process over and over again to achieve perfection. And it may take some people less, some people more. The one thing you never want to do is question why it takes some people less and some people more. Okay, our goal-seeking mechanism is far more powerful and relies on an adjustive method to achieve any goal. So to activate this mechanism, though, because some of us learn to restrain this mechanism, to lock it down. To activate it, you must activate 3 traits that exist within you right now. And when you activate it, one of the consequences is unlimited motivation. You'll get that gauge broken at 20. Think about this for a moment. If you turned on the clicker to the light in your room, would the light turn on? Of course it would, right? If there's electricity, it would turn on. What happens if you turn off the clicker? It will turn off, right? Now, when you turn off the clicker, the bulb is still there, but the light is not there. Why? Because when you turn on the clicker, you consciously did something to activate that bulb, to activate the electricity. So the bulb is still there, but you consciously can activate or deactivate that bulb. See, the 3 traits that generate motivation are within you right now, but you have to consciously activate it, and that's what we're going to do today. Today, we're going to activate those 3 traits. Now, first, let me tell you what the traits are, and then I'm going to show you how we're going to activate them. Trait number 1, or we call them ingredient number 1, same thing, okay? Pretend you're going to combine 3 ingredients to generate a chemistry within you we call motivation. So that's why ingredient number 1 is a goal. So first, you have to have a goal. Now, you may say, well, I have goals. I've always had goals. Great. So goals, you're going to write them down. We have exercises on how to write the goals, and we're going to go over those exercises later. So number 1 is a goal. Number 2 is a desire for that goal. So you got to set a goal that you really, really want, that you desire. If you're pursuing a goal to impress other people, if you're pursuing a goal to make others happy, or because your mom and dad want you to, or you're spouse wants you to, that does not activate this chemistry. You have to set a goal that you really desire. Of course, you can pursue goals that others want you to pursue. There's nothing wrong with that. But we're saying if you want to activate these three components, it has to be a goal that you desire. Now, the third ingredient is the most important. When I introduce it to you and you activate all three, a chemistry occurs within you that's very much like the chemistry of matter. You know, a chemist can have three elements in front of him or her. This person can combine two of those elements and get nothing. But when he pours the third one, you ever seen those mad scientists? They combine three things and it starts bubbling. And suddenly when they add the third one, they get this new chemistry, this new compound. Let's say nitroglycerin. What is that? Facial cream? What is nitroglycerin? It's an explosive, right? It's a bomb. It can explode. So you can have a goal and desire and have nothing. But when you combine the goal, the desire, and number three, you get something very explosive happen within you. And that third one is belief in your ability to achieve the goal you set. So you set a goal that you desire, and then belief in your ability to achieve the goal set. Now, I call that the no. The no is something I made up. It doesn't make any sense. If you Google the no, maybe it takes you to a song or a movie, right? The no, for me, represents instances when you said to yourself, I know I can do this. You ever been in that situation where you said, I know I can do this. I know that will happen. The no is a powerful state of mind. And that's what belief in your ability to achieve the goal means. Not believing you can achieve something. It's like, no, I believe I can do that. That's not what I'm talking about here. This is when you say, I know I can do this. So when you combine those three, a goal, desire, and the belief that you can achieve it, you become unstoppable. Now, instead of me just talking, I want you to experience what I'm talking about. So for a moment, I want you to right now put your pens and pads down, and I want you to close your eyes. I'm going to have you imagine something. Now, this thing I'm going to have you imagine, it will get you to experience what it would be like to have a goal, desire, and the no. Now, in order for you to experience the emotions I want you to experience, you must imagine what I'm about to tell you is happening to you right now. You must imagine what I'm about to tell you is reality. It's happening to you right now, as opposed to, imagining it happening to someone else. Okay? So go ahead and close your eyes. Actually, open your eyes for a second and type in ready. This will help you with your ranking too, but at the same time, let me know that you're ready to imagine this. Okay, James, Christine, Kathleen, Anne, Patricia, Renee. Renee, sorry I mispronounced your name, but I got your text earlier. Harmon, Tracy, Mark, Zoila, Jim, Louis, Alfred, Liz, Richard. Okay. Kyle. Excellent. We're going to imagine this thing now. And if you imagine this vividly that is happening to you, you're going to experience the emotions we call the state of achievement. So you're going to experience what it would be like to have that gauge broken at 20. Okay, here we go. Close your eyes. I want you to imagine that I wrote you a check right now for $10 million. And I gave you the check and I said, this check is yours. You can cash it in 30 days. And it's not good for 30 days. So if you take it to the bank, nothing's going to happen. But in 30 days, this check is good. And you said, really? Okay, what do I do? I said, well, all you have to do is wake up 6 in the morning every day and do something that's fully ethical and law-abiding. If you do this thing every day at 6 a.m., you can cash this check in 30 days. So you have to wake up at 6 in the morning every day for 30 days and do this thing we're going to ask you to do. And at first you were skeptical. You thought to yourself, oh, this can't be real, but you did your due diligence and you learned this is real. This company awards someone $10 million every 10 years. It is a marketing strategy, but someone gets to win $10 million. And they get to advertise their company for 30 days. So for them, it's a good investment. And you were the chosen one. So you were certain that if you wake up at 6 in the morning every day and do this thing that they ask you, you're going to be $10 million richer in 30 days. So you said, please tell me, what do I need to do? And I said, all right, well, are you ready? Do you want this 10 million? You said, yeah, heck yeah. Just tell me what I need to do. And I said, okay, all you have to do is wake up at 6 in the morning every day and run or walk 1 mile a day. And you thought about it for a second. He said, come again? I didn't get that. I said, yeah, wake up 6 in the morning and run or walk 1 mile a day. Are you willing to do that? And you said, yeah, I'm willing to do that. I said, all right, go home. You start tomorrow. Okay, open your eyes. How do you feel? This was happening to you right now. How do you feel? Type in for me how you feel. Jim, sounds easy. Anne, safe. Patricia, hopeful, excited, blessed, energized. Richard writes, wonderful. How many of you feel relieved? Zoila, wow, excited, hopeful. Okay, very good. So notice, highly motivated, right? Notice that all of these emotions you're typing in, we've seen them before. When did we see these emotions? Kyle writes, blown away, thrilled. When did we type these emotions earlier today? What were we talking about when we typed these emotions? Remember, we typed them earlier. The state of achievement. Remember when we're talking about state of achievement? So you are experiencing the state of achievement. Right? So, yeah, very good, Patricia. So all of those great feelings is what we're referring to state of achievement, right? You're happy, you're excited, you're clear-minded, you're relieved, you're thrilled, blown away. Now, for 20 days, every day you wake up in the morning at 6 and you walk a mile. Now think about this for a moment. You know when you go to a motivational seminar, you get motivated, you leave the session. Some people complain or they say motivational sessions don't work because the feelings of motivation die away as time goes by. So you get motivated in a session, but eventually you get back to your daily life and you forget the content at that seminar and you lose motivation. Is this the same kind of motivation? Think about it. As you get closer to the goal, do you become more or less motivated? So 20 days, you woke up at 6 in the morning every day. Do you become less or more motivated as you get closer to the goal? Yeah, more. So Jim, Patricia, Christine, Zoila, Harmon, you're all typing in, you become more motivated. Excellent. Now, Renee says, how do you get past the fear of failure? Well, I guess you deal with it, right? You wake up 6 in the morning every day and you walk a mile. Maybe you put 6 alarms. Maybe you have people calling you in addition to. Maybe you don't sleep some nights. I don't know. You make sure you wake up 6 in the morning every day and you walk the mile. Now, these emotions increase as you get closer to the goal. This is an important thing to remember about the state of achievement, that motivation enhances no matter what the challenges are. Maybe you're walking the day and suddenly someone wants to stop you. Someone, whatever the challenge is, you don't let them bother you. You get past those challenges to make sure you complete the mile every day at 6 a.m. Now, do you see what we just explored? That when you have a goal and a desire and the belief that you can do it, that the know, right? That suddenly these emotions are created within you that are uncontrollable. You can't even control them. You can't shut them down even if you wanted to. But I can shut them down for you if I take out the no. Now watch what happens if I take away the no. See, you know you can walk a mile. You know you can wake up at 6 a.m. But what if I told you, I'll give you $10 million if you wake up at 6 a.m. and walk 100 miles a day. Do you still feel as motivated as you did originally? Perhaps not. You know, 100 miles is not something everybody feels is achievable. Right? So if you notice this time around, it had a different feeling. So where did this state of achievement, now that you have the no, the goal, and the desire, where does this state of achievement come from? Well, somebody told me the other day, well, Fred, $10 million, that's where it came from, the money. If I had $10 million, I'll be motivated too. What if I tell you these feelings we call the state of achievement has nothing to do with the money? It did not come from the money. Think about this for a moment. Imagine if 30 days later you went to cash the check and you went to the bank, but the bank looked different. When you went inside, there was a circular table with a bunch of people inside, and as soon as you walked in, they gave you a big round of applause, and you're like, hey, what's going on? And they said, Fred, come on in, pull a chair for him. And they pulled a chair for you, and you sat down. There was a group of people with bow ties, camera people, newspaper people, and you said, what's going on? They said, hey, Fred, we want to congratulate you on a great job you did in this experiment. And you said, experiment? Where's the money? They said, no, wait. Okay, let me finish. There is no money, Fred. There is no money. This was an experiment. We did make you a plaque because you were the best subject, boy. I mean, you were just great. And hey, take some pictures. You're going to be on the front cover of Science Journal. Now, let's not talk about what you're going to do with the plaque. Was there any real money when you went to the bank to cash the check? No, there was no money, right? There was no money. Were you powerful for 30 days? Did you experience the state of achievement for 30 days? Yes, you did. Was there any money? No, there was no money. So what created the state of achievement? It wasn't the money. It was your imagined thought of the goal. You imagined the goal. You had desire for the goal. And you had the no. Those three things created the state of achievement. Okay, so silent self-talk is the consequence. We're going to talk about this consequence next week. We talk more to ourselves in one day than we talk to people around us in a week. You are constantly talking to yourself. And the words you say to yourself impacts what you do, how you do what you do. Now remember that people who have imagined a goal, desired it, and have had the no, have achieved great heights throughout history. I'm going to give you a couple of examples of this phenomenon. If you think about it, 200 years ago, if you walked up to someone riding a horse and you said, hey fella, do you know in 200 years from now or sometime in the future there's going to be this big metal bird-looking thing that's going to take 200 people across the ocean in the sky, what would that person tell you? They would say, you're crazy. I can see I'm on a horse right now. I don't see a metal bird. You're insane. But when two brothers believed this to be possible, although initially they failed many times in putting that plane into the sky, when they imagined it, they desired it, they believed it, it is what it is today. Metal-looking birds, we call planes, carry hundreds of people across the ocean, and it became a possibility. You know, it has always been the human desire to run the 1 mile distance under 4 minutes. In the Roman ages, they used to have lions chase runners to get them to run the mile under 4 minutes, and they couldn't do it. The only thing the lions would get is lunch, but they couldn't get the runners to run the mile under 4 minutes. And throughout history, people with great physique and with great desire, they failed at running the mile under 4 minutes. So in the 40s, there was a study. You can Google this. This is all true. What I'm telling you is actual occurrences. They did a study, and they learned in the 40s, scientists did lots of studies, and they learned that running the mile under 4 minutes is actually impossible. It's one of those impossibilities that that just cannot happen. And the reason they can't happen, they found, is that our bone structure, our body structure, and our heart capacity, the way it's built, is such that it is impossible to run the mile under 4 minutes. In fact, they found, if you run the mile under 4 minutes or try to, you can die. And they showed lots of examples of people who have tried and have died. So guess what humanity did when they read this research? What do you think people did in the 40s when it comes to running the mile under 4 minutes? They stopped trying. People no longer ran the mile under 4 minutes. Yeah, Christine is correct. That's exactly what happened. They gave up. So one man in England, he was a doctor by the name of Roger Bannister. He believed this to be possible, so he started running it. And he enjoyed running, even though he was a medical doctor, he enjoyed running. So, make a long story short, one day, he runs the mile under 4 minutes. And he does it again, and he does it again, because at first he thinks it's a fluke. And then he does it again. And when it becomes clear that it's not a fluke, the very next month, another person ran the mile under 4 minutes. A few months later, several more people ran the mile under 4 minutes. Within a year, hundreds ran the mile under 4 minutes. And today, running the mile under 4 minutes is not all that extraordinary. In fact, that record has been broken many times over. So when you look back in history, you see people who imagined, desired, and they had the know. Because if you think about Roger Bannister, who ran the mile under 4 minutes for the first time, what kept him going? You know, you have to think there were loved ones who came to his house and they said, Roger, are you okay, man? I mean, I know a psychologist that's really good in this city here. You want to go see him? Is everything okay? I mean, here's a report that shows people can die if they ride the mile under 4 minutes. Look, it's right here in writing. But Roger didn't care because he had a goal, a desire, and he had the know. He knew it's possible, even before it was proven to be possible. So what are some of the things you may think are just impossible to achieve? Or maybe you think they're tough to achieve. And as long as you have that belief system, even if you set a goal that you desire, you will deactivate those components within that will generate the motivation you need to surpass the challenges to achieve that goal. So what we're going to do is, and I'm at the end of today's presentation, so I'm going to show you the exercises, okay? These are the exercises that you're going to do for this week. None of you have access to these exercises yet, but when this session is done, you're all going to have your exercises set up, and a link will be sent to you before Monday. Okay, so week 1, exercise 1 and 2. What you're going to do this week is you're going to set your short-term goals and set up your long-term goals. Now, the instructions are right here on the side, but I'm going to quickly tell you what they are. Short-term goals are goals you can achieve within 1 year, and they are goals that have to be specific. So you can't say in your goals, I want to make lots of money in 1 year. See, that's not specific. Your success mechanism has to recognize the specificity of that goal. So you got to say, I want to make $10,000, or I want to earn $10,000 in my bank this year. I want to save up $10,000 in my bank account. So that's a short-term goal you can achieve. I want to finish my resume, one that produces callbacks. I want to get a job. Those are all goals you can achieve within a year and are specific. The long-term goals are goals you achieve within a lifetime. Oop, I went to the, sorry, wrong tab. Long-term goals are goals you can achieve within a lifetime. So I want to go to the moon. That's a goal you can plausibly achieve within a lifetime. I want to become a billionaire. Now you may say, go to the moon, become a billionaire. Those are lofty goals. The answer is absolutely. You want your long-term goals to have no limits. Imagine if there was a computer chip and I said to you, I have only one chip and I'm going to give it to you. And if you put this on your head, it's like a tape. As soon as you put it on your head, it makes it impossible for you to fail. And you were like, really? I said, yeah, really, try it. You put the tape on your head and an electrical shock went through you that lasted like less than a second. And you're like, whoa, what was that? I said, yeah, when you put on the tape, that's what happens. Okay, good. So now you will not fail. And you're like, get out of here. I don't believe you. So to see if it really works, though, you tried one goal, pursuing one goal that seemed really challenging, and you achieved it. And then you pursued a more difficult goal, and you achieved that too. And then you pursued a goal that you knew was impossible, like the mile under 4 minutes, and you achieved that too. And now you knew this chip, this thing that was on your head was working. Now that you know you can't fail, what goals would you pursue? What goals would become your long-term goals? That's what should be on your list. Okay, week 1, exercises 3 and 4. This is a daily affirmation. Just go ahead and read the instructions. I'm not going to cover this one because it's all in the instructions. And then exercise 5. Oh, wait. This is number 3. Then scroll to the right. Wait, I'm sorry. I showed you number 4. So number 3 is you select a daily phrase from among these phrases and just one of them. So select this one. I saw one of you type this earlier, or Ronald type, something great will happen today. Excellent, Ronald. How did you know about that phrase, Ronald? I'll wait for you to type that in. So go ahead and select that, this one right here. Today something great will happen, number 3, and repeat that phrase 100 times a day. You're also going to read the goals you wrote in exercise 1 and 2. You're going to read them every morning you wake up. And then do exercise 4. So you got 3 and 4 here. And then exercise 5 is to recall your past successes. The way you do this is you think back in time and you think about a challenging achievement that you did achieve. Something that was challenging, but you did achieve it. Like, for instance, learning how to ride a bike or graduating from high school. I want you to write in the challenges that led up to the success, describe the success and the state of achievement it made you feel, and stop. So don't go into what happened afterwards. So for instance, don't write, I was working for this company, it was really hard and tough, and I did all these great things, and I got an award, but then I lost the job. See, it's not important what happened afterwards.